Hi Sewing Chicks, this is Vanessa. This is our first online video to make a messenger bag. You will learn how to add a pocket, use fusible fleece, and to sew on Velcro as the bag's closure. If you have any questions or comments about this project or this video, be sure to post in our group thread. Last week I added cutting instructions and other information to prepare for this project. You should have two front pieces, 22 by 19 inches and a 13 by 19 inch. Two lining pieces with those same measurements, one strap 5.5 by 41 inches, one pocket 16 by 7 inches. And from the fusible fleece, you should have two 12 by 19 inch pieces and one 2 by 40 inch piece. Now we will prep the outside fabric with fusible fleece. Notice the fleece has a smooth side and the other side has a bumpy or rough texture. The rough side is the fusible part and will face the wrong side of the fabric. You will lay out the two 12 by 19 inch pieces of fleece and the two fronts of your outer bag. Lay out your pieces as shown here with your outer bag fabric facing down. Lay the rough side of fleece on top of the wrong side of a 13 by 19 inch piece of fabric. Lay the other on the one end of the 22 by 19 inch piece. Notice not all the fabric is covered with the fleece. Just one end of each piece is covered. Get your iron ready to iron the fleece to the fabric. Preheat on a cotton setting. If you have a steam iron, you will need to use the steam. Otherwise, a water bottle or damp towel will work. Okay, so if you don't know how to use a fusible fleece or how to iron it onto your fabric, I'm gonna do a quick demonstration here because you will need to do this on both of those pieces that I've shown earlier, which was that large piece and that small piece of your outer bag. So what I do is here's my interfacing, and here's my fabric. I actually just turn this over to do it on the side of the fabric like this. And I'm going to take my iron, and I have a steam iron, and it would be helpful to use the steam, so I'm going to spray some water on the fabric and just put the iron, just kind of start in the center, and just press down for about 10 to 15 seconds. And after about 15 seconds, you want to just pick it up and move it over. And basically you're trying to adhere the fabric and the fleece together, and you're just going to keep doing this. You don't want to just take the iron and just press over like this, because you may stretch the fabric in the fleece. So just continue to pick it up and hold for about 15 seconds until it's sticking to the fabric. And then periodically you just want to check to make sure that it is sticking together. So I think my iron's not hot enough yet, so I'm going to keep pressing a little bit. Okay, so just make sure that, see, it looks like it's sticking now. So make sure you go through the entire piece of fabric to make sure all of it's sticking. I haven't done that part, but you want to keep doing it until it all sticks together. And do this on both of your pieces before going to the next part, which finally you will be sewing the bag. So as you can see, I have iron the fleece to both of the fabrics, and now I'm putting them right sides together, and we're gonna get ready to sew. So make sure you're gonna pin the two short sides together that have the fleece on both sides, and your parts that are not fleece are the ones that are at the bottom here, this small piece, and here's your larger piece. So now I just pinned them across because we're going to sew a 1/2 inch seam allowance across from here to here. So now I'm about to sew my 1/2 inch seam, just following the half-inch mark on my machine. Um, and I'm going to remove the pins as I go along. And this is really for, you know, the beginners. So I'm sewing all the way down. And I'm using upholstery weight fabric, and it is pretty heavy, so I'm using a 100 universal needle. So the seam we've just sewn, I am opening that seam up and pressing it down. And you might have to use a little steam. Well, I am because of my heavy fabric. But press the seam down all the way to the end. Okay, so you'll have an open seam here. Once you're done with that, you're going to take the short end where that fabric, a little bit of fabric was left over on that short end, and you're going to just fold it over. Because you're going to sew it, you're going to just sew across this seam, but I'm going to fold it over and use the iron just to hold it down for me. Or you can also pin it if that helps as well. So here's the part we just folded over. So now we're going to take this part and just sew it down from this end to this end. And we're just going to use the end of our presser foot here as the guide. So this edge is lined up, is lined up with the presser foot. And we're just going to sew all the way down. Okay, so now that the sewing on that short side is complete, we're going to fold over this short piece over on the top of the longer piece where the right sides are together, because we're going to take the sides here and over here, and we're going to sew those together. So you can just pin the two sides if you need to. So just pin those down, and we're going to do a 1/2 inch seam allowance on those sides. So I'm pinning one side here, and then I'm going to turn this over and pin the other side. So now I am ready to sew my 1/2 inch seam allowance on the sides. And just remember to remove the pins as you go. Okay, and do the other side. So once your sides are sewn, you are now ready to create depth in your bag. And the way you do that is you're going to form triangles on each side. So we're going to turn the bag to one of the sides we just sewn, and you do want to press the seam open just the way we did at the bottom of the bag when we sewed it together. I'm gonna skip that part for now, but you can go ahead and do that part to make it easier for you to work with. But we're going to create a triangle here on the side, and I'm going to open my seam here, hand open it. But like I said, you can steam open this with the iron to create this triangle. So you want to make sure your bag, you know, one side of the bag's over here and one side's over here, so they won't be bunched together. And I have this nice grid table that I like. So I'm going to put the point on the end of one of these lines so that I can measure 1.5 inches down for my depth. So I have a tape measure here, and I'm going to start here, and about 1.5 is here. So I'm going to mark that with my fabric marker, and we're going to mark that all the way across. Then on this line we just created, this blue line I have here, I'm going to sew this on that triangle. Let me move that up closer so you can see that. So that blue mark I just made here, we're going across, we're going to sew on that line, but you should have this pressed down so that it won't be bunched up when you sew across. Okay, so now I'm sewing across that triangle. And once that is done, you're going to take your scissors, like here, and just cut sort of close to that line, but not very close, because you don't want to cut into your seam line. You just want to cut that triangle point off so that it looks like this.